Guys, today's conversation with John Mosley is really great. He's the head basketball coach at East Los Angeles College, but you saw him on Netflix's Last Chance U, the basketball edition that released back in March of this year. John Mosley, my goodness, he's got tons of wisdom. He's our guest today on Sports Spectrum.
Welcome to the Sports Spectrum podcast, where faith and sports collide. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Welcome, everyone, to the show. I am Jason. Thanks for joining us and tuning into our show today. Make sure you check out our website, sportspectrum.com, for all of our content. Make sure you bookmark that website every single day. There's new content there. There is devotionals, there's podcasts, there's articles and stories on the intersection of sports and faith in Jesus Christ, all available at sportspectrum.com. And when you are there, make sure you sign up for Sports Spectrum Weekly, which is our newsletter you can get for free, delivered right to your email inbox every single week. Kind of keeps you abreast on all that's happening in Sports Spectrum. Maybe the articles and podcasts that you may have missed, it'll come right to your email inbox each week. You can sign up for free at sportspectrum.com. Click on the newsletter icon, and you're good to go. And when you do that, we got a free gift for you, a 10-day daily devotional written by professional athletes for Sports Spectrum and free for you if you sign up for our newsletter, and that is for free as well. You can get it all at sportspectrum.com. If you'd like to reach me directly, you can email me, jason@sportspectrum.com. We've had a lot of people reach out recently just saying how much they enjoy the show. One person actually reached out and said they use this podcast and all of our content on the website as an outreach to reach people for Christ. Think about that. Right now, you're listening and you know someone who loves sports, maybe doesn't have that faith in the Lord, that strong faith right now, but maybe you can share this podcast with them, and that might help them. Maybe it steers them towards Jesus. You don't know. But we love that Sports Spectrum can be that vehicle, can be that outlet for you as a ministry tool to share faith in Jesus Christ. That's what we're about here at Sports Spectrum. And we're grateful when you do reach out. You can email me, jason@sportspectrum.com. Want to say thanks to our partners and sponsors today, Compassion International, fillthestadium.com. That's the website. 70,000 kids left in desperate need of help because of the pandemic. No food, no water, no nourishment, just your basic necessities that people need, clean water, education. That's wiped out for many kids and their families because of the pandemic. But Compassion and our friends in the sporting world, our athlete friends, have all stepped up and helped fill the stadium, a stadium of 70,000 kids in desperate need of help, and we're making a huge dent. 70% of these kids now have been saved, in essence, because of Compassion International and because of people like you. But we still got a long way to go. We need your help. Check out fillthestadium.com to learn more, to donate, and help release these kids from poverty. This is a stadium that cannot remain empty. Go to fillthestadium.com and donate today. All right, let's get to our conversation with John Mosley. He's the head basketball coach from East Los Angeles College. They're a JUCO school. He spent time as an assistant coach at Cal-Bakersfield for many years, so he's been a Division I coach as well. But John now is most notable probably because he's featured on Netflix's Last Chance U. They have a football season or two in there, and they just released Last Chance U, the basketball season, this past March of 2021. And it looks back at the 2019-2020 season where East Los Angeles finished 29-1 and ranked second in the state. They were on pace to win a state title in California at a JUCO school. They had a school record 25-game winning streak before games were canceled due to COVID. I watched it. I would love for you to watch it as well, but I want you to keep this in mind. There's some colorful language in here. This is a TVMA type of rating because it's real and it's raw with the kids that John Mosley coaches. But what I loved about this show was how it highlighted Coach John Mosley, our guest today, and how much he loves Jesus and why his coaching stems from his faith and how he loves his family and how he loves his players. Whether or not they're doing things they shouldn't be doing or saying things they shouldn't be doing, John is consistently there for his kids and taking advantage of the opportunity to pray for them and to point them to Christ. John Mosley is our guest today on Sports Spectrum from Netflix Last Chance U and from East Los Angeles College. Let's take a listen. John Mosley, welcome to Sports Spectrum. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a long year. We're just now kind of finally moseying back into some level of normalcy. But it's the good part is giving me time to share, I guess, been able to hop on podcast and been able to speak and do different things like that. If we were in a season or something, you probably wouldn't have been able to get a hold of me. So it's been good. And time with the family has been probably the best. Yeah.
I mean, this has to have changed your life in some ways and maybe not in other ways. But when a worldwide audience, I didn't realize this, 204 million paid subscribers Netflix has. And when you think about a show like Last Chance U and how good it is and how established it had been, and then adding your guys and your show and your school, I should say, to the mix, what was that like or what has that been like for you, I guess, since, March of 2021 when this show was, out there for the world to see?
Well, first I thought the show was going to suck. I said, there's no way, man. I just thought nobody wants to see how I'm coaching or who I am as a person, or they'd be offended by the way I was, shouldn't he be more professional or, so I thought it was going to suck and I would get all these complaints. I was literally, and that's another story. I really didn't want to do it. God had to kind of nudge me, but I didn't want to do it. I thought it was going to suck, but I'm hearing that it's inspiring. It's, all of the above. I'm hearing it from the basketball world, from the world of faith, from the world of leadership, business communities. I mean, I've kind of connected with several people that have been inspired, and I'm just kind of humbled to be a part of it. And good thing I didn't go against what God wanted to do, but I just didn't think it would be interesting. And so I literally have been, Netflix has kind of left me alone for like a month and a half. They scheduled all my podcasts and they said, well, man, they actually said we haven't had as many requests for, the coaches as much as we had with you, but John, you're gonna have to take over. So I tried to create a little calendar and where I can schedule and, get a chance to connect with people. But I tell you, it's been humbling. I had no idea. In a way, it's a little bit saddening, kind of, because I'm like, there's got to be, like, you guys are like stop celebrating what we're doing. Like it's everybody does this, right? Like this is what we should be doing. This is how we should be living out our whether it's our calling, or even if we're not believers, we should still be doing things with excellence or kind of serving others, right? And or in the coaching world. And they're just, a lot of people's like in awe that, wow, you really have patience. And I'm like, aren't we supposed to have patience dealing with these young people? And so it's been great and humbling. But from that perspective, I kind of get even a little saddened and a little grieved by the fact that it's not more, it's not more. And I just kind of get saddened by that we need more.
Yeah, absolutely. Go back to what you said about God nudging you to say yes to this. Can you kind of take us inside that prompting that you kind of felt from the Lord in the moment that you were able to say yes? Because it sounds like you didn't want to say yes for a while.
Oh, no. And I've repeated this several times, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it here that, hey, there was a cold call that happened. And I was just like, they said, hey, we're at this show and we're interested. Let us know if you want to have a conversation about it. And I had no idea. I heard of the show, but I knew it was like football and I'm like too busy to watch it.
Yeah.
So I go and start watching it. I was like, oh, there's no way I'm doing that. I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. I don't want cameras. And I thought there's no way I can be as entertaining as those guys. The show is going to suck. Like, I'm too dogmatic about my faith. you know, and by the way, they did a great job because I was super dogmatic, but they cut the I quoted scripture almost every time. It looked like I ministered and every time I prayed, but they kind of did it in a way that it wasn't too offensive. So God was awesome. He had his hand on it. He knew exactly what he wanted in there. But they came and they mentioned it to me, and I was like, I don't know. Let me think about it. And I would reach out to some people. And what's interesting is a lot of who weren't of the faith were saying, oh, you shouldn't do that. You're going to get fired. They're going to find something. They're going to show something that how you live. And they're just trying to get you fired. And I'm thinking like, yeah, you're right. I'm not doing that. You know, my life is perfect now.
Yeah.
You know, and then me and a friend of mine, he was another coach, community college coach, a man of faith. We were in Dallas and we were sitting there talking. And I said, hey, man, don't tell anybody, but I think this show wants to do this docuseries on me and the team. And he said, bro, you got to do it. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? We like Christians, right? We supposed to just kind of just, you know, shut the doors and minister and hug and love our little community, right? He said, man, you got to do it. Man, God has given you this awesome opportunity. I'm like, what? You know, everybody's telling me don't do it. And then here's the believer telling me. I literally walk out of the gym and I call my pastor. And I said, I asked him, I said, hey, just wanted to hit you up. I got this opportunity. What do you think? You know, I kind of threw it at him. I didn't even give him, because I wanted him to say, yeah, don't even do that. You know,
right.
I didn't make it sound good, you know, and he said, oh, you definitely have to do it. And I'm thinking like, what? I'm thinking he's going to say, hey, let's don't worry. Let's continue to serve in the church and do this. And, you know, we got to be humble, you know, humble ourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he'll build us up, right? We don't need Hollywood or television. But to my surprise, he said, no, you absolutely should do it. And I'm thinking like, what? And I'm questioning him like, but how about those people who go on these documentaries or this reality TV and they're Christians, or they say they're Christians, and then they do something opposite? I said, I don't want to be that guy when the camera comes, they see something and I make God look bad.
Right. And
so he says, oh, no, that won't happen with you because that's not how you live out your life. And I'm like, are you sure? And he said, most likely, if they acted out that way, that's probably who they were, you know, maybe hiding behind a name or hiding behind Christianity. And I just thought, I said, but how about if I do something that gets me fired? He said, you're predestined and God called you. He said, hey, if the door is shut there, then he'll open up another door. And he just like canceled all my doubt. And I'm like, gosh. And so I did, you know, I ended up doing it, man. And even before they started filming, you know, I'm wondering, like, are they coming? And then eventually they call me, hey, okay, Mosley, here's the deal. We're coming. We're bringing our crew. We're starting next week. But I literally was in the bed, like literally family's gone. I'm shivering. And for those that I mentioned before, when those who are kind of called to do something that you never saw yourself doing, you kind of like, there's another level of crying out to God. Like, Lord, what are you having me do? Like, my life is perfect. Like, I finally got to a point where, okay, finally, God, I finally got some stability in a job. Like, usually I was doing college job, Division I, this level. I'm hopping around as a college coach.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is no stability. And then finally I get a community college job. I'm a tenured faculty member. I finally get tenure. So I started out not getting any money there at East LA College. I'm getting a stipend. Finally, I work and I finally get a tenure position. I'm doing well. My wife is well. She's teaching. My kids are doing great. They're doing great in school. Church is great. Everything's great. Me and my wife, kids are doing great in sports, man. Life is great, right? I finally don't have this chaos in my life as when I grew up, you know, in the city, in the hood, and there's always chaos, and I'm fighting through chaos. Like, no, I got to survive. I got to make it. Finally, I make it, and I get to sit back, and, you know, I'm sitting on top of the hill like, yeah, finally made it. I got out of the hood. I got the white picket fence around my house, you know, figuratively. I got white picket fence. Everything's going good. I'm talking to buddies about retirement. We joking about 401. Hey, what do you got in there? What's your portfolio looks like? I'm that guy now. And then all of a sudden I get hit with this and I'm like, this can destroy me. Like literally stuff like this can pick your life apart and destroy you. And I see families are destroyed when they do these reality shows. They start off with humility, and it's just a humility because there's this great thing that we never saw. We see families with all these children, and then they go in minute. They say, let's see this family, and it starts in humility, and all of a sudden it blows up into something else, and it destroys families. It destroys people. And I was like, that's going to happen to me, and I was worried. So I'm shivering in the bed like, Lord, what are you doing? Like, why did you have me do this? And I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? And then eventually, of course, the peace came over me. We go through it. And then that feeling came again. There's a level of consecration right before the show comes out. Okay, John, the show is going to drop in a month. And then all of a sudden I'm starting to think about all the things I said and did wrong. And I'm thinking, first of all, the show is going to be awful because it's just me basketball. I didn't realize they had a way they were going to put it together. And then I'm thinking of all the things I said. Like I was really dogmatic about the way the world is right now. So the world, we finished the filming right after. Pandemic hits. The George Floyd, the social unrest. Now the world gets more sensitive. Everybody's so sensitive. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, the world is going to destroy me for screaming at these black boys. Wait, you're supposed to be a positive figure. Why are you screaming? I'm thinking about all these things. I was in the truck when they asked me about my wife, and they cut it up so well, and it was great. I said, hey, our marriage is founded on faith and my belief in God. But man, I'm going to tell you, I went to town on that. I broke out scripture. I talked about submission, and I was thinking like, oh my gosh, they're going to put that in, and these agendas are going to destroy my beliefs about the marriage. And I was just like, oh, so I was so worried, and I was shivering in the bed again. And a week before, they said, here's the trailer. And I said, Lord, why did you have me do it? I said, well, it's over. My life's over. I said, my life's destroyed.
Wow.
I just put myself out there, and I'm just sitting around a week before, and I'm like, so they gave me the show like a couple days before, and I didn't watch it to watch myself. I was sitting there turning it on to watch how destroyed, how bad I did myself, like how bad our life is going to be after this. And to my surprise, man, and I'm sorry I talked long, but that was real. I'm literally was like, I'm destroyed. It's over. I'm like, Lord, why would you bring me to this point? And then now, because I just thought about the things I said, and I was just like, it wasn't anything bad, but our world is so sensitive. Our world is so sensitive about what's right. You know what I'm saying? We're so sensitive about what's right. Well, I don't have to believe that. I'm my own individual. I can do that. But God had his hand on how it was edited and it was produced, and it was actually, it spoke to more people than I thought it would speak to. I did have an agenda to share my faith. That was an agenda. But how it was presented could have been offensive, and it wasn't. And I'm so grateful that God, he gave me that platform and he allowed me to be a part of that. I'm like, wow, Lord, that's amazing. So,
well, that's the thing I really was taken when I watch it. It is for mature audiences, and I tell people who listen to this, because we're a pretty clean show here with Sports Spectrum, if you're going to watch it, make sure you watch it first without the little kids in the room, but then go watch it, yourself. But that's what I loved about it was so raw, and you're dealing with 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids who are just coming from all worlds and all some really tough situations, and you're the guy. Right? Like you're the one that they're looking to for guidance. And in some cases, they didn't receive that coaching so well, at least the way it was presented in the show. But in other times, they're like crying in your arms, like, you're my guy and I need you because I know that you can be there for me. I just thought it was real and raw in such a good way that shows you what life is really like. That's what I thought. I don't know how you felt that, if you felt that way, because I'm sure there was tons of things that hit the cutting room floor in the editing process, but I felt it really showed the importance of you being true to who you are. And maybe not everybody agrees with the way you believe or that you're a Christian, but that was what really, I don't want to say drew them to you in some ways, to know that you were there for them in whatever situation came, including the end when the pandemic hits and now your season's taken away from you.
Well, there's a level of trust, and I think that's everyone asks me how am I able to kind of continue to be that. Well, I look at, first of all, I see myself in all of those guys. You know, I was lost, I was prideful, I had all those issues that they have. You know, disappointment. I was scarred. You know, I grew up in an environment that, you know, it was great in some ways, and in some ways it was awful. And I saw all of that. But then I also was reminded there was a level of conviction in me that the same way Christ, he never gave up and he was always there. And throughout my life and throughout the mission trips and just all those different things and going to a Christian college, I started to get convicted about how I treat others and how I serve others and how I see others. You know, I'm not perfect, and I tell people I'm not perfect, but the Lord, he's kind of dealt with me in a way that there's this level of compassion or empathy to have for others, regardless, man. I mean, regardless of how they treat me, if I see that there's a need or crying out, then there's an empathy, and it comes from the space of, okay, I can't really do anything for you, but I know who can. Let me share what has healed my heart. Let me share what has stopped me from crying. Let me share what has giving me going from sleepless nights to nights where I can sleep. Let me share that. Let me share what has given me proper perspective on life. Now, you don't have to listen to it, but if I see it and I look in your eyes and I see you're looking for something, then here's what I have to offer. This is what I have to offer. Because I'm in a space where, you know, it's a public school, it's a space, and to be super dogmatic about it, that can be a conflict of interest. But when I see someone crying out and they're just not buying into all the other stuff, then I'm like, okay, let me show you what I have to offer. Let me share with you what gives me peace. And that's kind of where the conviction that God has put on my heart and continue to put on my heart is that. And I'm grateful for that. And, you know, it comes from a place, and I share it on many occasions, that when you really, when you really become, it's this fear of reverence of God, and you really you study and you know him to a point where you're like, man, who am I? Oh my gosh. Like, who the heck am I?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, you just kind of sick of the sin that's in your life. I'm kind of sick by what type of person I am and the heart that I have, that it all just needs to go towards God. I need to let God take over, because I'm not someone that should be giving guidance. You know, any guidance I give, if it comes from John Mosley, any guidance that I give is probably going to be wrong and come from self. You know, so I have to kind of seek the Lord and let him possess my body. I've talked about possession. Let him possess my mind. Let him possess my heart and come in with his spirit. And then hopefully that comes out and that spills over to all these young men. And I think that's what happened in most cases. It's just like the empathy, the compassion that Christ had for me spilling over onto those guys.
Let's take a quick break from our conversation here on Sports Spectrum to tell you a little bit more about Fill the Stadium and our friends at Compassion International. Now, you know about Compassion. They are the most trusted child development ministry in the world. All that they do is about children and releasing them from poverty. They do it all in Jesus' name. And now we have this Fill the Stadium initiative that's been going on for more than a year now, and we're making such amazing progress trying to fill 70,000 empty seats with children who are in crisis. 70,000 kids were left without an opportunity for food and shelter and clothing and all the basic necessities that children should have. Normally, they would get sponsored in a regular year, but the pandemic wiped all of that out. And so now you can come alongside myself our friends at Compassion, our pro athlete friends, and help fill the stadium and release kids from poverty. You can go to the website, fillthestadium.com, to donate right now. Fillthestadium.com, and let's release these kids from poverty. Let's reach our goal of 70,000 filled seats. Go to fillthestadium.com. We're so glad to have John Mosley here on Sports Spectrum. He's a head basketball coach at East Los Angeles College, and they were featured on Netflix Last Chance U, the basketball edition that released back in March of 2021, is available for everybody to go watch right now on Netflix. You talked about that word obedience a lot and being covered by God's grace in the show. Those were the words that was left in. You said it too. I was really impressed with what they left into that show because, again, they're editing. They could have taken out all of it, and they dedicate in many ways in episode 4, almost an entire show that focused about your faith and how it guides you and even told your story and your journey in the show. But you talked about obedience and how important that was. I want to explore that word a little bit, obedience, and its importance in your life, not just as a coach, which everybody saw, but as a dad, as a husband, as a mentor, as a friend, as a believer. What does that word mean to you when I say obedience?
Yeah, well, to share with you first, I was really leery, so I kept asking them, like, what is this going to be? I'm afraid that that something's going to happen where God is not going to be honored, or my life is going to be twisted. And they said, John, is going to be a mirror of you. And I just was looking like, oh, I don't know if I want to see me, Yeah. But I think with that they felt even a responsibility to say, hey, we're going to keep our word if you stay true to who you are. And it wasn't like it was forced to stay true, because I feel like there's a camera that's always on me. And they asked me, how did it feel with the cameras? And to me, I had a camera on me ever since I decided to serve Christ. And that camera, that camera to live out my faith, to live out Christianity, and to live out how, God wants us to let him shine through us. That's the camera that I had on me. And so that's the level when I talk about obedience. It's not just following commandments, but it's a call to like holiness. It's a call to glorifying him, like trying to make everything about him and trying to serve him through everything. And so the level of obedience, with my family I'm called to kind of be the leader and to make sure that home is sanctified and to make sure that there's a level of protection around it. And obedience is not about me. It's not about my wants. It's not about my needs. It's about what God is calling in terms of holiness, and what God is calling in terms of and we think about obedience. We think about 10 Commandments, and we talk about the fruits of the Spirit, man. Yes. What does that ultimately look like? And I think that's what we're trying to live out,
He is John Mosley, and he's joining us here on Sports Spectrum. How do you balance all of that, coaching, and the most important ministry that I think, that we can tend to miss sometimes? And it actually kind of showed that in the film a little bit with you, the ministry of being a dad and being a husband. How do you find that balance today, maybe compared to where you were 5, 10, 20 years ago as you got into this coaching profession?
Well, you know what? That's the number one. I think if we can't take care of our home, that's ultimately the relationship that God has given us that kind of symbolizes what eternity will be like in terms of that marriage and that companionship. There's something that I asked for. I asked God for this wife that was going to be God-fearing and honoring, and to me to go against. And I'm always reminded, anytime I step out of, something, not fulfilling that responsibility of being a leader at the home or anything, I got to go back to when I thought there's no way God's going to give me, after what I've done and what I've been through, there's no way that he's going to give me someone like that, and who has that level of faith, who has that level of, I don't want to put her business out there, but a sense of purity, but who has all that. And so I ask, that's what I asked for. And he said, okay, if you can be obedient, before I was married, and there was a time, it was about a 5-year period. He says, if you can be obedient, then maybe I'll bless you with something like that. And there was a level of obedience and commitment to him in ministry. And I had kind of forgot all about it. And it was about serving him. It wasn't even about, he changed my eyes. Once you really know what God is calling us into relationships and how we see women and how we see family, and it kind of changes how my eyes see women. And I was just ashamed at how I looked at women. And I just was humbled, like, oh my gosh, why? Like, Lord, how we should be taking care of our families, how we should be taking care of women and children and other men and sons and daughters, and how we should be seeing that. And there was a level of conviction and humility that fell over me, and compassion for that. And I'm always reminded, man, that remember what you asked for and why I gave it to you. Remember what you asked for and why I gave it to you. And so anytime I step outside of that, man, there's that thorn that you feel like, I remember, and I got to go back. So if I misspoke to my wife, just because I was a little irritated by something else, I have to go back and I say, you know what? I got to make sure that I change that response, and I'm apologetic about that, because that's up to me. I can either sanctify it, I can damage it, I can damage what God has given me. And if I want to live the rest of my life, like, yeah, we're probably going to honor God. I think we're going to honor God and stay together, right? But I can still damage it in a way that there can be a sense of, we can live in a level of misery if I decide to damage that gift that he's given me. Say, yeah, I may keep you guys together, but if I don't take care of my children, if I don't make sure I'm guiding them towards Christ and doing that, if I don't guide them towards Christ, then I'm gonna have to deal with that, by not being obedient, guiding them towards Christ. And so some of it falls into, well, man, I don't want to have to deal with the hand of God, in the sense that, well, okay, John, if you're not going to guide them right now, guess what? You're going to have to deal with that later. And now you're going to have to deal with a level of, what is my son going through when he's in his 20s and 30s? Or when we're older, me and my wife, how has that relationship been? So some of it comes from that. I'm a little concerned by me not being obedient to what comes of it. But then also is this just a conviction that God has called us to do it. And that's the relation that's the most important. And if that's not taken care of, if the home is not taken care of, there's nothing I can do outside of it. And I've seen it several times. A lot of coaches ask me, how can you do both? Well, you know what? My wife understands. She understands that, you know what? When he goes and he coaches, he's gone, he's committed 100%. And it's hard for him to separate the two. We've gotten to understand it. But you know what? When I walk out of this office and close the door, then guess what? It's the family time.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so I think my wife and my family appreciates that I'm 100% committed and they don't bug me. But when I close the door, when I turn off the phone, my eyes are 100% committed on my daughter, and I'm not text messaging while I'm talking to her. And so I think the Lord has convicted me. If you're trying to look for some bullet points and what are some strategies, I'll say the ultimate strategy is the conviction, to stay in the word so that God convicts you to do these things. Okay. But if you're asking for a strategy, shutting the phone down, I would go out and recruit as a Division I coach. I'm all over the country, right? What happens, what I found some friends to do is they'll go out, they'll recruit, right? And they got a great home. But what happens? Okay, they stop recruiting. It's 10 o'clock at night. And then what? Now it's me time. Let me go have a beer with the buddies. No, there's no me time if you're going to commit. And you know that college coaching has that level of commitment, or being a CEO of a company has a level of commitment to where it's a 15 to 15 hour day, then okay, now it shuts down at 15 hours. We understand it's a 15-hour day, but at that 15th hour, it shuts down. It's not go have me time or come home and sit with the remote and shut everybody out. Wait a minute. I just worked 12 hours. I need me time. No, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
He's John Mosley. As we wind down here, John, thank you so much for being here on the show. I have to ask you, what is it? The great commandment is to go and make disciples. I should say the great commandment is to go and love God and love people. The great commission is to go and make disciples. What's this been like for you, this opportunity? Maybe it was with someone from Netflix. Maybe it's been someone that has, watched the show and maybe drifted from faith. Was there an opportunity here? Did you see one, not just through being on the show, but to actually have conversations with people who maybe didn't believe the same thing or were kind of like, I hate to say it, like lukewarm, like all of us have been at some point, or maybe even didn't believe in anything. And suddenly they saw you or they saw something in you that sparked a conversation, that sparked an opportunity for you to share about Christ.
You know what? There was one that I was in direct contact with that was working on the show. We were in daily contact. There was a conversation. There were other people that were involved in the show that I really didn't know that just got credits. They would send me messages about what they thought. And ultimately, what's crazy, it was before the show even came out, as they were editing. I think they figured, well, after it comes out, we're not going to be able to talk to him. But they sent messages and said, I just want to let you know that, it was authentic, the way you share your faith. I kind of got scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get fired now because I'm sharing the gospel,
Yeah.
But there were several occasions in that. I just thought that if there's no way that I can compete with the world in terms of entertainment, if I did, I would really have to sell out, like if I would entertain or make anything successful in terms of what I know about having success on a show or coaching, I would really have to sell out. And I knew I couldn't sell out because it would go against my faith. So I had to sell out one way or the other. It was either I got to completely share my faith and share the gospel, or I had to completely just sell out and curse and swear or whatever or do. And I was like, I can't do that. I had to sell out one way or the other. And I said, I can't sell out that way. So I have to sell out in terms of every opportunity I get to share my faith. There was a moment when we're in the vans, right? And it wasn't the song I played, but it was a song that fit, for the show. It was upbeat, the Mary, Mary song, Going to Heaven. But we have those moments throughout the year, and I'm talking about more moments than that. We're in the vans, and the guy said, hey, coach, play our music. Can you play one of our songs? Oh, sure. Come on, play our song. So plug it in. I said, hey, but every song you play, I get a song to play. So they say, okay, coach, they'll play, say, 3 songs, right? 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes. And then it's my turn to play a song, right? And then I pop mine in, and guess what? My songs are spontaneous worship. You're talking about an 8 to 10 minute song, right? And then, wait a minute, coach, your songs are, when is this song going to end? I'm like, hey, this is spontaneous worship. When so I can play 3 songs and they'll last almost 30 minutes. And so those little moments to have that opportunity to minister, it was throughout, and it's never been forcing. There was a moment when I shared after we were on the retreat, and I tell you what, they cut out the most there. I actually thought I was going to share the gospel to the world, but I was talking about peace, and I was sharing, if you want this peace, let me share with you with scripture, the peace that passes all understanding. And they chopped it up, and then all of a sudden they went to a prayer, right? But I had my phone and I was reading scripture, and we were going through it, and we were talking about this peace. And we were talking about all of you, what you guys use to when you need a level of peace. You use smoking weed, or you use sex, or you use this or that. But I'm going to share with you a peace that you never have to use those things. And this peace that passes all understanding it will rest on you. And then you'll be good. You don't need to go get women. You don't need to get likes off of Instagram or followers or tweets to get a level of peace. And we shared scripture. And then I said, I don't want anybody to come out. We don't want an altar call right now because I didn't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. But I said, I want you guys to send me a text message if you're looking for that. And I shared that, and they didn't share that. And I had 4 guys off the team, and so we had an opportunity to kind of sit and minister. And like I told them, I said, y'all know we wasn't getting off this mountain before I had something to say. Lord, we got to sit here, Mosley. So I allowed them to do all of what they wanted to do. And I said, but if I'm going to hear and I'm going to listen to that level of where you're at in life, and you're going to hear what I have to say about life and where we're at. So there's several opportunities. There were several that I thought were a part of the show. And I can see their look like, is this for real? And they were really kind of looking like, man, he's really kind of living it out. This is, there's no way we can do it but edit it in this direction. And I think that's what they said. They said, it's going to be a mirror of you. And so I think what happened is, even though maybe 10%, there was something I probably shouldn't have done, they said, well, this is the story. If this 95, 98%, if this is him, this is where we got to go. And so I have to give them, because there was not enough to go the other direction. There was not to go the other direction. It was not enough. And so I have to kind of take my hat off. They were truthful in that. They said, we're going with the character that we see.
That's good.
And they were sharing the faith. So, but there were a lot of eyes that were looking like, is this guy really like this? And so I think that's what they went with.
That's good. He is John Mosley. I want to honor your time here and wind down. And our last question, and we ask this question a lot to different people. I'm curious for you because the cameras aren't around you every day now with Netflix, right? The show is over. You lost last season because of COVID. The season that everybody watched was 2 seasons ago, and then COVID shut that one down. You missed last season out in Los Angeles, and now you're preparing for what is hopefully next season, 2021 into 2022. Where you are today, after all that this is, you've been through in the show and everything, what's the great lesson the Lord is teaching you right now? What is God showing you and teaching you today, John Mosley, as we sit here and have this conversation?
Well, as people ask me what is one of my favorite scriptures, and what keeps coming to mind is all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and called according to his purpose. And so he has whatever he's called us into. Here I am, I'm 47 years old. And yeah, I've had opportunities to individually minister and have an impact on lives. But I felt like I need to stay in obedience of what God called me to do. And I felt like that there's this level of obedience that I've tried to stay in. And I think he's kind of put that, he's showing me like, there's nothing that I can't do, John. And it's just kind of like a glimpse, of what he can do. And they say, see, I told you, if you just be obedient and trust me, you trust God, that ultimately it's going to all work out, and it doesn't mean that, I didn't have any idea. And I felt like, yeah, Lord, I am trusting you. And I felt like, yeah, I will trust you. But I had no idea it would have this impact. And I'll tell you another thing. You got to be careful what you ask God for.
Yeah.
I came to the year spring 2019, and I'm kind of, like I said, everything's feeling okay. Everything's rocking and rolling. I'm still on guard. I'm watching my children, make sure I'm protecting our from a spiritual standpoint. Everything seems to be going good. It looks like now the teams are going to be good. Like the team you saw, they didn't know Last Chance U was happening. So that team was going to be good regardless of Last Chance U. We were going to, all those things. And I'm saying, Lord, like everything's kind of going okay. It's kind of like, Lord, I kind of was like, Lord, what do you got next? Like, what's next?
Right.
Because all I had left to do, like I'm 5-time coach of the year, and just all these things are working out. All I have to do is win a state championship. That's no big deal. I'll probably win one, maybe. And if I don't, it's not a big deal because I felt fulfilled because I'm helping these young men. I'm seeing young men move on. Say, Lord, what's next? You be careful what you ask for. Because 2 months later, that's when Netflix called me. And I said, no, Lord, that's not what I meant. Like, that's not what I was talking about. And then it was kind of like, well, hello, that's what we're doing. So, yeah, just be careful what you ask for and know that everything works together for the good of the Lord. It's going to work out for his favor.
Yeah, that's a great word, especially coming from Romans. It's such a great, rich book. If people want to go into Scripture in Romans 8 and read that, I mean, it's just really well said there by the Apostle Paul and by you, John Mosley. Thanks for joining us here, my friend. All the best to you. Continued success. And, you know, as I watch from afar and just see God opening up doors for you, I just pray that the Lord would continue to, you know, impress upon your heart to point people to him. And I can sense that in our conversation. So thanks for doing what you're doing and all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
And many thanks to John Mosley from East Los Angeles College out there in LA. And of course, featured on Netflix's Last Chance U basketball in 2021. Make sure you go check that out. Like I said, though, there is colorful language in here. We're talking about college kids at a public university who are just trying to figure life out. So if you're going to watch it, make sure you screen it for yourself before you let the little ones join you in watching this. But I think when you watch John Mosley on Last Chance U, you will see a man who, just like on this podcast, loves the Lord. And really, that's his number one priority. His priority is basketball, certainly, and his family, and parenting, and being a good husband. But Jesus is at the center of all that John Mosley is as a coach and as a man. And you could sense that not only in this podcast, but when you watch Last Chance U, they did a great job editing and keeping John Mosley's faith into that conversation. And that's what we like to do here. We like to keep Jesus into our conversations as well. You don't see that everywhere when you're watching media from a public perspective. You don't see that faith kept into the conversation. That's what we try to do. We try to provide you with an alternative form of media where we can have real conversations about faith intersecting with sports. We are Sports Spectrum. Make sure you check out our website, sportspectrum.com, for all of our content. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode of this podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then tell someone. Send this podcast to someone that you know loves sports. Maybe they love Jesus. Maybe they aren't quite there on that whole faith thing yet, but they love sports. I think anyone that listens to today's conversation with John Mosley is going to take away something, whether it's on leadership, whether it's on serving, or whether it's just how to grow in your personal relationship with the Lord. So thank you again for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you check out sportspectrum.com and sign up for our Sports Spectrum weekly newsletter. When you do that, you get a free 10-day daily devotional. It's a gift from us to you for free. You can sign up at sportspectrum.com and join us next time right here on the podcast. We love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. See you next time.